Hello StarCraft fans, this is Falcon Paladin coming to you with yet another daily Legacy of the Void upload. This is a game between KiFirE and Buildings on New Gettysburg, the latter edition. In the bottom left side of the map, we have the blue Protoss player, it is KiFirE. And in the bottom right side of the map, we have the red Zerg player, it is Buildings, representing Team Ascension. Alright, so Buildings we've seen before. KiFirE we've seen before. 2 GM level StarCraft 2 players. One of them sent me this replay to falconpaladin@gmail.com and said, hey, you should probably cast this one. It is pretty good. And I said, alright, I will. So here we are. Thanks for joining me. Good to have you along. Good to see you here in this ZVP for you today. I don't think this is the most favorite matchup of people on my channel, but hey, it's a good one. And it's my favorite one, so I do cast them fairly often. Pool first. Out of Buildings. And look how weird that is. The pool's like off creep. And way on this bottom edge of his base here in the bottom right. That's a very, very strange visual. I guess the creep is extending out there, even if you can't, I mean, even if the map kind of goes over it a little bit. Yeah, you can see edges of creep extending below this little border here. Anyway, Buildings is working on 6 lings to push on out here. KiFirE sends a probe in to block the expansion for Buildings and notices that it's a little bit late. I have to imagine that's something that KiFirE has noticed here. And so he's not even really moving into the main base. Oh, does he see these lings? He definitely, I think he saw those lings. It was close, but I think he saw the lings coming. So what does KiFirE have to deal with? 6 lings, soon to be 8, as there are 2 more that just popped out of an egg. I mean, Cybernetics Core is on the way, and a Zealot is coming out too as being Chrono Boost, but I don't think a Zealot is enough to deal with 8 lings that are just hellbent on taking down your Nexus. KiFirE is in a bit of spot of trouble here. Meanwhile, Buildings does manage to get his expansion down. No gas taken. He's trying to drone up at this point, recognizing that going pool first is an economic disadvantage, but it is an army advantage as the lings go right to town on this Nexus. 6 lings wailing away on it at the natural. 2 more show up to join the party. There's a Zealot at the top of this ramp for KiFirE, and he's not quite sure what to do. He does decide eventually to come on down and try to kill these lings. The lings immediately turn around, get a full surround on him. Can he take down any? He does take 1 ling with him, but that's pretty much it. So now there are 7 lings. 2 more show up from across the map, and now there are 9. This Nexus is going to be canceled by KiFirE. He's too good of a player to just lose it. There's the cancel, there's the refund, and the lings decide that's enough. They don't even really try to go into the main base. Mothership Core is here. That is a concern. Buildings is working on a 3rd base back home, even before his 2nd base is popped, recognizing that the spawning pool opening hurts him. It hurts him economically, but he's trying to make up for that by getting a 3rd base super quick here, sub 3 minutes. And I think it might work for him. He doesn't really need speedlings at this point. He's got an Overlord scouting in to see what building or what KiFirE is up to. He sees an Adept. He sees Warp Gate Research on the way to the Cybernetics Core. Sees a Mothership Core. Just sees a very defensive Protoss player, which makes sense considering that early aggression that we saw just a couple of minutes ago. Meanwhile, Slowling's kind of running around trying to find proxy pylons or ninja stuff. KiFirE might do here. There is a probe running on in. Oh, probe. Oh, probe, you dead. Yep, probe is dead. Probe just tried to scout out a potential 4th base, I guess, by Buildings. I don't know why that would be a thing, but he doesn't know. Does he? He hasn't scouted anything. Wow. Alright, so this Overlord that's scouting for Buildings at the natural base is getting tickled to death by a tickle cannon, as Husky used to call them. We've got 2 gateways going and a robotics facility. That's the tech of choice for Building, or for KiFirE right now. It is a Cybernetics Core. You've got an Adept and a Zealot holding the remainder of that line, and that looks like a pretty tight wall for KiFirE at his natural base. Overlord explodes unceremoniously, does supply block Buildings for just a second there. But he is up to 33 out of 20, or compared to 26 workers from his opponent. He's now just getting speedy. He has 2 extractors with only 2 workers on one of them at his main base. That's interesting. And no other extractor is visible. So I think he's just trying to macro up as hard as he can, recognizing KiFirE is not going to be too aggressive, at least for a couple of minutes, which should give him some time to get an army up. Well, I guess first get an economy up and then get an army up, as he has a Roach Warren under construction here at his natural base. I've seen that more and more from Zerg players, is putting their tech structures away from their main and actually in their natural. And I wonder if that's just because drops are such a problem in your main base. If you don't lose tech structures because they're away, then that's definitely a bonus. Immortal on the way for KiFirE. Lings running around trying to scout some stuff out. There are sentries, there are adepts, there's a mothership core. All the lings die except for the 4 that were smart enough not to run into that in the first place. Is KiFirE pushing out with 4 sentries, a zealot, an adept, and a mothership core? No. Nope. Okay, so just maybe pursuing the lings a little bit. No, he is. He's going to come down this little narrow path here. Yep. I mean, kind of. One of his stalkers did go home. An overlord's here for buildings to scout this thing out. 24 lings in production for buildings, and they do have speed. They do have speed now. A bunch of roaches here, too, so I feel like... Yeah, the Overlord scouts out this little incursion party from KiFirE, and buildings should be able to have a nice little concave, but he doesn't. He's actually letting the Protoss army come out of that little narrow passageway as a hallucinated Phoenix gets itself murdered right on over there. A forward pylon being set up by KiFirE, and I just don't think this looks good for the Protoss player. I don't. Ling's trying to get on top of this stuff, and nice top. There's the recall. Corrosive Bile killing his own creep tumor. That's a little bit embarrassing. The pylon, forward pylon is canceled, and the probe dies as well. So yeah, buildings was definitely ready for that. 38 to 39 harvesters, though. KiFirE has been probing hard behind that attack, taking 2 assimilators at his natural base. Still no more gas for buildings. He only has the 2 assimilators. But if you're going Roach Ling, you don't need that much gas. I mean, 2 assimilators is definitely enough to handle it. And here come the lings. They're trying to sneak on up here, but there are sentries here. There's adepts, there's stalkers, there's a photon overcharge. I just don't see the lings getting through here, really, in any sense of the word. Oh, KiFirE is going for a 3rd base. Oh, KiFirE cancels the 3rd base. The lings on top of everything, killing a pylon, killing a probe as well. Buildings has just been so annoying with his pressure with the lings thus far. Going for it. Oh, going for it is buildings. Take down, yes, he takes down a force field with Corrosive Bile, but a lot of his units are kind of stuck here trying to take stuff down. Corrosive Bile landing on the force field, but it's not enough. The DPS that was railing on his units while he was trying to free himself from those force fields, which is too much. He lost a bunch of stuff there. He's lost 4 Ravagers, a Roach, and 43 Lings thus far. It's 40 to 43 Harvesters. KiFirE looking good. There's the Warpin, though. Is this a double Warpin? Nope, hallucinated Phoenix. A Warpin of Adepts here in the main base getting shut down fairly handily by a bunch of lings and a couple queens here in the main base. Hallucinated Phoenix and Adept over in the natural base getting cleaned up as well. I don't think that's many. Maybe, yep, 4 drones have been killed, 2 probes thus far, and the Warp Prism not going too far, perhaps planning on another kind of attack. +1 melee attack on the way for buildings. Baneling Nest coming right on up, and Disruptors under construction by KiFirE, as well as a Forge. So, buildings inject. Good buildings. Way to go, buddy. I know it's hard. It's hard to inject consistently throughout the game. I definitely can't do it. Like, don't think I'm saying I'm better than buildings here, because I'm absolutely not. But I just don't like seeing hatcheries that aren't injected. What can I do? What can I say? I am a Zerg player all the way. 3rd base under construction again for KiFirE. He's got 2 assimilators, a pylon, and a nexus under construction just north of his natural base. Buildings is continuing to make a disruptor here, getting gravitic drive for his warp prisms for the speed there. Queen stepping away at the warp prism, trying to drop at the front door of buildings, which seems weird. I don't know why you'd fly right onto the creep, because that provides vision, right, for the Zerg player. They can see you coming, and then they just bring their queens over and shoot you right in the head. But meanwhile, KiFire's not doing too bad. It's 53 to 59 Harvesters. Building has a lead, but not a huge lead. Again, all this pressure costs stuff. It costs drones. I don't think you need enough damage to really justify it. Is this Disruptor drop? Disruptor drop. Can they get the Disruptor for the explosion? No! No, they cannot. That's 11 drones that have been killed so far. Actually got the hit off. Buildings did not split his workers very well at all. Throwing up a Spore Crawler, trying to deal with this. A 4th base is on the way for buildings here too. Does get inadvertently scattered, I think, by the Warp Prism. He wasn't sure that it was there, but now he knows. Another Hallucinated Phoenix going to expire inside the main base for KiFirE. More Disruptors on the way for KiFirE. That +1 melee attack just about to complete for buildings. Getting +1 missile and glial reconstitution right now, as well as double Spore Crawlers. And there's the Zealot Warpin, possibly trying to force a cancel on this 4th base. He doesn't wait for it to finish. Instead, he goes right to town on it. And I think he does have enough DPS to take this thing down eventually. Is there another Disruptor shot there? Was it attempted? I feel like that was attempted. Hang on. I'm going to back up just a little bit. Oh, yeah. Disruptor hit. Wow. Another good one. 17 drones killed. The Zealot Duke picked up by the Warp Prism after being assaulted at this 4th base. 4th base pops with a little bit less health than it otherwise would have, but looks fairly good all things considered. Centrifugal hooks on the way for buildings, meaning he will have speed banelings and Ravagers, mostly for his composition. Interesting composition. Nova comes right on in and gets the shot off. Oh, this Disruptor has a lot of kills. I want to see how many kills it has. KiFirE, unload it. Prosobile's trying to land and kill that thing, but there's no way. Way too fast with the Gravitic Drive. What is that? Colossus? Colossus is there for KiFirE. That's, I mean, we've seen that work, but meanwhile, a bunch of Lings over here at the 3rd base trying to take stuff down does not end up happening. Gets shoot away by most of the army of KiFirE. Actually, unload the Disruptor. 17 drones killed, 8 Ravagers, 3 Banelings, 51 Lings thus far. That is one of the more effective Disruptors we've ever seen. I mean, not all that is from the Disruptor, obviously, but nonetheless, go ahead, unload it. Come on, Zealot unloads to kill the Lings at this Zeltnaga Watchtower and take it from him. There's just nowhere to land, really. Corrosive Bile, nice dodge. Woo, bringing a little loop-de-loo around, making that a little bit closer than it had to be. Extended Thermal Lance up, Storm up, Spire up as well. Disruptor! Ooh, canceled the Nova, and very low on hit points as well. I want to see it unload. Unload. Not unloading. Not unloading. Alright, that's fine. A 4th base underway for KiFirE. Now at 65 to 64 Harvesters. KiFirE has had a bit of a worker lead pretty much the entire game, except for a short period where Buildings was up, but Zealots lose the Zeltnaga Watchtower to most of Buildings' army here. 11 mutas under construction for the Zerg player. There it is. 20 kills? Ah, and then it does end up getting taken down. After getting more kills, though, what was that? Did that end up being like 24, 25 kills? Impressive Disruptor indeed. Lings forcing a cancel on the 4th base, as is tradition. Buildings is forced to cancel on every single one of KiFirE's attempts to expand. KiFirE eventually does come back and make it work, but man, Warp Prism does get sniped down by Queens over here at the 4th base of Buildings. It just hurts. It hurts to have to cancel Buildings like that. Cancel Buildings because of Buildings. Ho, 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 ho. Look how clever I am. 69 to 65 Harvesters, 174 to 174 right now on that total supply. Very even indeed. I like what we're seeing thus far. Both players with some good harassment. KiFirE mostly with Disruptors, Buildings mostly with Lings. And so far so good, but the 11 mutas, I don't know if KiFirE is ready for this. The mutas do stop to take down a pylon. But, yep, double Stargate on the way, but it might just be too late. It might just be too late. The mutas come right on in. There is no defense on for these probes in the main base. Oh, probes. The Blink Stalkers are good, but they didn't manage to kill any of those mutas. 9 probes have been killed. 17 drones have died thus far. And double expanding is KiFirE, taking that 4th base again, taking a 5th base along the natural progression up towards the north there. And the Lings again, following tradition, doing what they are mandated to do as Buildings, takes a 5th base of his own. Along that top side, Muta's going to fight these Stalkers on the little narrow path, forcing a cancel on KiFirE. 5th base gets canceled. That is amazing. I don't think I've ever seen a Zerg do this, where he's canceled the natural 3rd, 4th, and 5th bases of KiFirE before letting him actually get them established once again. Lings taking down cannons. There are Colossus here, though. The Mutas going after this Stargate that is attempting to build Phoenix. Most of the armies up here in the north. The Mutas are sitting here in the natural, taking out one Stargate. Going to take out another one here, too. Meanwhile, Ling's trying to deal with this army, but there are Colossus, there are Archons. There's no way Lings are going to be able to handle that. Meanwhile, the Mutas are having free reign here in the natural base. Taking down probes, taking down the Forge, trying to stop upgrades, and it's working really well. There's 24 Mutas in the air right now. And there's just really not much defense at all. And KiFirE says, you know what? Go ahead, kill my probes, kill my static defense, kill my Stalkers back home. I don't think you can stop my army. So he moves right on in. Oh boy, killing Queens, killing Creep Tumors, moving right up to the 4th base of Buildings, which makes sense. You want to attack the most recent base of your opponent. That's where the most income potential is. But oh my gosh, the probe massacre is a lot to see right now. 50 probes have been killed so far. This 4th base does fall. Buildings is supply blocked, 188 to 149 total supply. More and more mutas under construction for Buildings. He has 9 more to add to the 29 that he already has. It's going to be mass muta against some Archons, a bunch of Stalkers with +2 attack, and some Colossus, which are pretty useless against a mass Mutalisk army. A Disruptor is mixed in here too. And there's Storm, so let's not forget about Storm. Alright, so 4th base is gone for buildings. Protoss army moving south. Going to try to take down this 3rd base now. I just don't... I mean, there are Banelings here for buildings, which... I don't know that Banelings is a great thing to use against this. Meanwhile, the Muta's just basically trying to murder what they can. Purification Nova almost hits those Banelings. That would have been a nice pickup for KiFirE, but he doesn't actually get it. And yeah, KiFirE is doing nothing at home to stop these Mutas from wrecking face. He's just not. I mean, yeah, there are some pylons coming up, but that is about it. Meanwhile, Storm on the Banelings. Banelings are crashing in, but not really killing much of anything. Some Roaches, some Ravagers here, but blinking forward on top of them is KiFirE. Colossus, 17 kills. Colossus, 20 kills. Colossus, 15 kills. These Colossus, man, they're not messing around. The Mutas are flying back home saying, I don't know if I can win this base race with just Mutas. My DPS does not seem high enough. Can he win this thing with his Muta Ball? What do we got for Stalkers? We've got 24 Stalkers and 37 Mutas going for it. And the recall. What? KiFirE recalled home. Left a few Stalkers that did get cleaned up by Buildings, but Buildings is kind of dead in the water right now. I mean, he has a mineral patch that he's harvesting from with 300 minerals remaining, but that's the only hatch he has inside this main base. I mean, I guess you could do some long distance mining from the natural and try to build a new hatch, but looking bad. The Muta's on top of this army once again, saying, I understand what happened here. We're going to try to win this thing. Double photon overcharge, really wailing away at these Mutas. Can Buildings hang on? He still has a lot of Mutalisks left. Are all the Stalkers gone? There's a Stalker remaining. The Archon is left. There's nothing here, and KiFirE is forced to call the GG. KiFirE is defeated, and Buildings is victorious here on New Gettysburg today. Wow. That was a close one, man. Buildings did not have much left. I mean, yeah, he had a big-time Muta army. KiFirE, though, he had Archons, he had Storm, he had Stalkers, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. The Muta army came in, obliterated everything. KiFirE was left with 7 probes. I mean, there are only 17 drones remaining, but nothing to deal with these Mutas, so the Protoss player tapped out. So pretty darn entertaining game for sure. And I hope you enjoyed it, because that's it from me. This has been Falcon Paladin with yet another daily Legacy of the Void upload. Go ahead and hit that like button. Hit the subscribe if you like what you saw and what you heard today. You can also catch me on Twitter and Facebook, both at /Falcon Paladin. And until next time, as always, thank you so much for watching, and you take care of yourself. Let's give a quick shout out to everybody who donated to my Patreon so far. And thank you so much for donating. Nick Riley, Josh Cornelius, Jin, KN, Matt Mermans, Hekon Marcus, Christopher, Alex Coffey, Ben Raboin, 19 Day, Keith Garlow, Michael Wellen, Alexandros Kolonaris, Michael McIntosh, Bo Preset, Pushpak Eledu, Trevor Smith, Alex Sims, Back Bertie, Sip Kopatara, Plaid, Jan Kodera, and Rajiv Bhatt. Thanks again to everybody who has donated so far. There's a link at the top right if you'd like to go ahead and pledge. Again, just $1 a month would be so appreciated and so welcome on the channel. You can get rewards. You can get t-shirts. I will cast my own games. I'll cast your games. Check me out again on patreon.com/FalconPaladin. Thank you.